Hello everyone and welcome to another Muffin video. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell and drop a like on the video too if you're enjoying the content. Don't forget to join our Discord server as well if you're not already there. The link is in the description down below. We've also activated our channel membership now, which comes with all kinds of perks from video shoutouts to personalized help and more. So check that out if you're interested in joining. And as well, from now on, all comments on every video will be automatically entered into our weekly giveaways. Winners will be randomly selected every Monday by our bot, so good luck and let's get started. So, welcome to the Swordmaster. We are on the second Swordbearer class change, and this is going to be a full DPS upgrade. There is not going to be a new tanking build with the Swordmaster. You will be still using the exact same tanking loadout as the Sword Adept Class Change 1 build. However, you will be getting a significant DPS upgrade in this class because it is quite an interesting DPS build when we start going through it. Now, I know in previous class guides for the Swordbearer I've said you sort of have to make a compromise whether or not you want to go fully into tanking or fully into DPS, but as you're getting into class change 2 and progressing through, you're going to find yourself with more and rather enough access to stats that you're going to actually reach the point where you're able to fully focus on your tanking and still have enough available points in offense to deal a good amount of damage. And by the same token, you can also fully focus on your DPS and still have enough stats available to focus relatively nicely on tanking as well. So like I said in previous videos, the more you progress through the game, the more you'll be able to have both high offensive stats and high defensive stats. So once again, as I've said with all my guides where I don't main the class, I don't main a Swordmaster, so I've put this information together from trusted community sources, and of those I want to especially thank Demi and Boof, who've put together very informative guides, both of which are linked in the description down below. So special thank you to them, and let's get cracking with this new DPS build for the Swordmaster, which is an ice element build with a lot of skill and basic attack spamming and super fast attacks in order to stack a new buff type. So let's take a look at our skills here, starting of course with the core skill. So charge up and slash, dealing a large amount of ice damage to enemies in front, and consumes insight stacks to apply dimensional slash. Each stack deals ice damage equal to 50% of the first slash to enemies in front. Convert basic attack damage to ice damage, plus dealing any non-core ice damage has a 20% chance to gain 1 stack of insight. So this is very, very interesting. What we have here is basically a class that is centered around these stacks of insight, because as you can see here, each stack you get, when you use your core skill, you're going to deal 50% more damage on top of this damage here. So 759%, then plus 50% of this for each stack of insight, which means if you have like 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks, 4 stacks, 5 stacks, I mean, this is starting to deal serious damage here. So as you can imagine, all of our loadout is going to be centered around dealing as much ice damage hits and fast basic attacks, and lots of attack speed and haste are going to come in clutch for this build. So let's keep this mechanic in mind as we start looking at the rest of the skills. So first off, with our tactical skills, we're looking at Power of Thunder, which is pretty much the most obvious choice in the universe as far as tactical skills go, as we do have this increased attack speed of 65% plus the bonus of more skill damage. But this attack speed increase is what's so important, because this is going to allow us to absolutely spam our basic attacks, which is going to give a lot of chances to hit that 20% insight stack generation. So this is why we're going to absolutely run Power of Thunder, to get loads and loads of these basic attacks going out and loads of insight stacks, hopefully if the 20% procs nicely. So that's why this is very essential. Next up, we have Phantom Strike. Now, Phantom Strike, upon casting, increase the crit rate of basic attacks by 30%. Now, this on its own is really good because we've already established that this build is going to be about spamming crazy amounts of basic attacks for the insight buff, but basic attacks themselves do a fair amount of damage. So this is going to increase their crit rate by 30%, which is very nice. Plus, trigger up to 2 Phantom Strikes when basic attacks crit, each dealing ice damage equal to a certain attack for 8 seconds. So this is nice. You're basically getting 2 extra ice hits, so it's not only more damage, it's 2 additional non-core ice damage sources, which means 2 more chances to apply insight. Every type of source we can have to deal ice damage outside of the core is going to give us a chance to get yet another insight buff and get even higher damage out of the core attack. So another very important tactical skill. And finally, we have the exclusive tactical skill, Whirlwind Slash. Quickly slash with dual swords 6 times, each dealing ice damage equal to 644% attack to surrounding enemies, and deal additional damage equal to a certain attack per second for the next 10 seconds. So right away we have a huge number of ice damage hits going out, which equals a huge number of opportunities for us to get more insight stacks. So a very, very nice, not only huge amount of damage here, but also a huge amount of chances to get insight. So a double beneficial exclusive tactical skill here. Plus, look at this benefit here. Every dimensional slash applied increases the damage of the next Whirlwind Slash by 5% up to 12 stacks. That means if you manage to get 12 dimensional stacks, 12 insight stacks, and the next core hit hits, this is going to deal 60% more damage on top of what it already deals, which is crazy. So very, very nice. Very, very nice tactical skill loadout here, which is supercharging our basic attacks, increasing their crit, giving us a lot more chances of getting loads of insight stacks to supercharge our dimensional slash core skill. So that's the tactical skills. Now let's move on to the passive skills. So first off, we have Gathering Blade. So this as far as passive skills go, I think this might be the craziest one I've ever read in any class, hands down. There is no, in my mind when I read this, the amount of damage that this one passive skill increases is crazy. Listen to this. Each dimensional slash triggered increases the damage of subsequent dimensional slashes after this core skill by 11% up to 10 stacks. This doesn't have a duration. This is per battle, which means each dimensional slash triggered, 10 of them, once you get 10 dimensional slashes, i.e. 10 insight stacks, that's going to be 110% damage increase to your dimensional slash damage. Not only that, you're getting an additional 60% increase to your dimensional slash damage on top of that, plus an additional 35.6% damage increase from all sources to your current target. Hello? You have what is essentially like over a 200% potential damage increase? Like this, I've never seen such high numbers from any passive skill in any class. This is absolutely crazy. Plus here, you have this additional, every 6% haste you have further increases the damage bonus. It's just a really, really sick passive skill. So yeah, this is the absolute best passive skill for increasing your damage in this Swordmaster build. It's crazy how much damage you can get out of this. It's just really, really nice. So that's Gathering Blade, the first and probably most important passive skill. Next up you have Spatial Tear. Perform an additional Spatial Tear slash at the end of Dimensional Slash, dealing a huge amount of ice damage to the target and nearby enemies, so it is an AoE, plus every one dimensional slash dealt increases the damage of the next Spatial Tear by 15%. There's no limit there. So once again, let's say in theory you got, I don't know, 12 stacks of insight. All of a sudden you have 180% damage increase to a 2700% attack damaging skill. I am just speechless. I mean, these numbers are crazy. I mean, seeing these numbers is actually crazy, and in some ways I wish I had rolled a tank as a main class and just run DPS, because I see some insane potential here. there's some serious potential here to do really high damage numbers. Anyway, I'm getting out of control here. Let's move on to the next tactical skill, passive skill here. So next up we have the passive skill we've run in every single DPS build of Swordbearer until now, which is Berserker. By now you should know what this does. Berserker increases the damage we take in exchange for increasing all damage dealt by a large percentage. So very nice, just a flat damage increase in exchange for taking a bit more damage. Next up we have Tactical Advantage. Each damage dealt by a tactical skill increases your core skill damage by 8% for 4 seconds up to 8 stacks, plus increases your core skill damage additionally. Again, this is very, very nice for this build because, as we know, we're going to be dealing a huge amount of core skill damage from Dimensional Slash here, especially with the Insight stacks. So having this additional bonus here is going to add up a lot. So a very nice increase to our core skill damage, and of course we have lots of sources of tactical skill damage going out from these two sources here. So that's going to allow us to build up these stacks and maintain them for each core skill. Now the final slot here, you're actually going to have two choices to run. Arguably Zero Flash is probably going to work out better depending on your stats, but you have to try them both out and see which is better for your DPS output. But Zero Flash is the first option. As you can see here, each core skill damage dealt has a 35% chance to increase your attack speed by 12% up to 4 stacks, and it additionally increases all damage. So if we increase attack speed, this means more basic attacks, even faster spam, even more insight stacks. So this in theory should be better. But the other option you can run here is Aggressive Offense, which is every 4 basic attacks dealt increases skill damage by 7% up to 5 stacks, which is another 35% skill damage increase. Now, personally, I think Zero Flash most times will deal more damage for you, but you have to check out, you know, maybe you have like a 2 gold star aggressive offense, but maybe a 3 purple star Zero Flash, in which case you may find aggressive offense actually works better. But I think Zero Flash most times should be the better option for DPS, but again, you have to try both and see which one works better for you. That's ultimately the only way you can truly know. Now, there is an alternative build setup for the Dragon Bounty and Slime fights, and for those two, you're going to make a couple small changes. The first is that you're going to actually swap your Power of Thunder here for this Mark of Vengeance. So, upon casting, apply Mark of Vengeance to the current target, increasing your skill damage to that target by 35%, and each time damage is taken for the duration, further increase skill damage dealt to the target by 3.5% up to 8 stacks. The reason why you run this in Slime and Dragon is because both Slime and Dragon's Bounty have a AoE damage source from the boss that chips away at your HP every single second. So because of that, you're going to have this maxed out basically all the time for the whole fight. So this is going to be 8 times 3.5 plus this 35%. So this is actually going to be a very big damage increase, skill damage increase. So that's why you would run this in both of those two fights as opposed to Power of Thunder. Additionally, you would also change for Dragon and Slime these. Remember I said you have a choice of Zero Flash or Aggressive Offense. Instead here you would actually run Vengeful Shield. Again here, every time damage is taken, there's a 40% chance to gain a stack of Vengeance. Vengeance increases the damage of the next core skill by up to a certain percentage, up to 5 stacks. So again, the same reasoning why we would run the Mark of Vengeance here. You see, it's basically the same skill, more or less. It increases your damage every time you take damage, which works very well for those two fights. So, with that said, we are now going to transition into talents. Now, I will warn you, there are a few different options for talents, but I'm going to show you the one that I've sort of done my research and asked around, and seems to be the one that most people accept for the time being to do the most damage. But I'm going to present all the options to you as well afterwards, so you can do your own personal testing and see what works best for you. So for our DPS talent, we're going to be using the new talent disc, which is Dimensional Pursuit, and the primary talents. Before we dive into that, let me actually quickly show you these two. So for your DPS loadout, you're going to be running most likely Voice of Bloodlust, and then for your second one, you're going to have a couple choices. So until you have a legendary rank for purple star of all 4 of the exclusive skills for this class, you're going to run Hasten Cooldown. Once you have legendary, all the exclusive skills, plus there are at least 4 purple stars, then you should swap out of Hasten Cooldown and instead run Forging Foundation for more attack frequency. So once you have all your skills at a high level, you would be running Voice of Bloodlust with Forging Foundation, but until you get your skills to a high level, you would run this Hasten Cooldown over Forging Foundation in order to have a reduction to your tactical skills cooldown. With that said, now let's take a look at the different talent loadouts for Dimensional Pursuit, but I'll start with the one that is accepted to be the best. And that is going to be left, then left plus right, then left, and then left plus right again. So this is pretty much what I've seen most people say is the better DPS talent loadout. So let's take a look at what these options are, and then I'll show the different options you have that you can do your own testing and see if it works better for you. So on the left side here, we're going to take at the start of battle when casting Whirlwind Slash, which is one of our exclusive tactical skills for the first time, increase ice damage by 15% for 10 seconds. So this is just a nice increase to ice damage for the start of the fight. And now we have our both double here. So let's take a look at both of these and see why we run both of them. 30 seconds after the start of battle, increase the chance for basic attacks to gain insight by 10%. Do I need to say more? Do I need to say more? Now this is massive. For how often we'll be attacking with basic attacks, this is a massive increase to the quantity of insight stacks we'll be able to apply, and this will be huge. Next up we have Dimensional Sword Out. 30 seconds after the start of battle, increase your crit damage from your basic attack by 80%. Now, the reason why we would run this, don't forget we're running Phantom Strike as our second tactical skill, which actually increases the crit rate of basic attacks by 30%. So your basic attacks are going to be critting basically all the time practically. So to have an 80% additional crit damage increase on your basic attacks is going to be a very nice overall damage increase. And then finally, we have, oh not finally, sorry, we have 2 more levels to go, but then we have the left side Phantom Slashes. Each damage dealt by Phantom Strike, which is also the tactical skill I just explained, which increases the basic attack crit rate. Each damage dealt by Phantom Strike increases damage by 1.5% for 4 seconds up to 10 stacks. So this additional damage dealt by the Phantom Strike, which is the additional ice damage sources that happen whenever you deal a basic attack crit, are going to also increase all damage dealt, which is quite good as well. And finally, on this tier, we have double as well, and let's take a look at both of these. So now we have Winter Sword Technique. For each stack of insight you have, gain increased crit rate. Pretty straightforward. Nice. We're going to have lots of insight stacks, more crit rate, more crits, more lucky crits, more crit damage. Great. Lots of sources of increased damage from having more crit rate. And Insight Flash. Each stack of insight you have increases the damage of Insight Slash by 30%. So again, this is just a nice increase in damage as well, a 30% increase to Insight Slash. But yeah, so this is a nice damage increase here, and ultimately this is pretty much what most people would run. However, let me present to you the alternative builds so you can check them out yourself and understand why they might be better for you, or maybe they do less damage, but check it out anyway. So the 3 additional options, yes, there are 3 different options, are going to be left, left, then left plus right, then left plus right. So this is another option. You go left, left, double, double. The next option after this is going to be full left side. So the next option will be full left side, which seems to be what the Chinese servers preferred, especially towards the later parts of the class change. And this, of course, opens up Collapsum Slash, which is every time Spatial Tear is triggered, increase the damage of Spatial Tear in the current battle by 10% up to 15 stacks, plus Spatial Tear deals an additional hit to the current target during contraction. So this really increases your Spatial Tear damage quite a lot, and definitely is worth testing compared to the other talents, but again, you have to test them yourself. And finally, the last potential talent loadout is going to be left, left, right, left, left. So this is going to be the final one to try as well. So left, left, right, left, left. So again, the most common talent build, the one I would recommend personally, is left, double, then you have left, left, double, double, then left, left, right, left, left, and then finally full left side. So those are all the potential talent builds that you have to play around with and see which one works best for you at your current progression level and damage output. Now, like I said in the start of the video, the tank build is exactly the same as the class change 1 build, so I'm not going to go over it at all. It looks exactly like what you saw in the previous video, so if you're interested in seeing how that works, go back and check my previous Sword Adapt video, as it has the full new tank loadout there, and it's going to be the same in this Swordmaster. There's no changes at all to that build. Now, when it comes to stats, as I'm sure you no doubt assume, haste is going to play a much higher importance in this build compared to past DPS builds because of the fact that we're spamming insane amounts of basic attacks, and so we need a whole bunch of attack speed. So your stats are going to be accuracy to 100 or 103%, then a crit determination balance, ideally 40%, 45%, whatever you can achieve, up to 50%, probably only if you're a big spender, because otherwise you're hit by diminishing returns trying to chase such high crit determination. And as well as you're aware, we're getting a lot of additional crit sources throughout the build through like the tactical skills and also some of the talents. So that's something to take into consideration. But then after your accuracy and crit determination, you are going to focus a lot on haste, and pretty much as you can get without sacrificing the other stats. So I'd say haste to probably 40%, even as high as 50% if you can, and then mastery, attack, crit damage, and so on. When it comes to your tanking focus, again, you would go accuracy to around 100%, a balanced crit and determination, but lower, maybe around 30%. 30% is fine. And then you would have block to around 50%, because then with all of the on trigger abilities, you'll have up to 100% block there. And then after that, you'd go endurance, evasion, HP, defense, tenacity in that rough order. So those are the stats for this build. And finally, the last two things are going to be Melomon. Again, it's going to be exactly the same as the previous two class changes. So all I'm going to say is DPS is going to be main awakening. Sorry, your main Melomon is going to be Demon Hound. Your main DPS Melomon is going to be Demon Hound. Your main tank Melomon is going to be Blade Hound. And your DPS special skills are going to be Colt's Echo, your turn, and then your choice of Invisible Friend, Book of Answers, and Arcane Resonance. And then for tanking, you're going to be running your Blade Hound, and then your special skills will be, the defense increase, the HP increase, the HP recovery, or the cleanse. Are pretty much still the only Melomon you have access to. When it comes to mounts, in Class Change 2, you're eventually going to unlock Gen 2 mounts. When you do, there is a very clear choice here, and that is Walking Sparrow. Now, yes, Husky is better for DPS, but Walking Sparrow also increases your DPS and your tanking capabilities. Since it's a bit of a pain to focus on two separate mounts and swap them back and forth, it makes much more sense from a resources point of view to focus on the best mount for both of your specs, which is going to be Walking Sparrow. And the reason is because here you can see here, increase the damage dealt by your character by a large percentage, plus every 6 seconds you gain a shield equal to max 8% of your max HP. So this is really, really nice. You have not only a damage increase, but a pretty significant shield every 6 seconds. So this actually is a very nice mount to run, and you'll both get a damage increase and a survivability increase that you can run in both your DPS and tank specs. So there you have it. That is a complete guide to the Swordmaster. I hope you found this helpful. Anything you think I missed or got wrong or anything, leave it in the comments down below. I look forward to hearing from you guys. And yeah, take care, everyone. Good luck enjoying your Swordmaster. I'm pretty blown away by the DPS potential I see here. Like I said, I wish I was playing a tank right now. But there you have it. Take care, everyone. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.